All right. Hello, everyone. It is Saturday night.
No.
It is time for the Weekly Dig. We are back after a few weeks of holiday. So hopefully this works out. We're getting some slightly odd numbers from YouTube, so hopefully we're not too glitchy. Fingers crossed. Yeah. For those not familiar, this is a weekly live stream where we talk about anime old and new. My name is Brent. These are my fantabulous co-hosts, John. Say hi, John.
Hi, John. Konbanwa all.
And Steve. Say hi, Steve.
Hola, Steve.
How are you guys doing? How was your break? As he burns himself.
No.
As Brent goes up in flame. What?
No pain. Don't drink malt liquor. That's bad.
There's not that much malt liquor in this.
How long do you have to leave a soda drink for it to become malt liquor? Nah. To the point you don't drink it. Go ahead, Steve. What was your break like?
It was fantabulous in that I got to stay at home because COVID, the Omicron variant went rampant through my store. So it was a thing, but we got through it.
Yeah,
we got through it.
Fair enough.
So, but no, it was nice. It was nice in that we ordered out and we got Peking duck.
Ooh.
And so we sat down with the TV trays, got eating Peking duck and watching a Muppets Christmas Carol.
Oh man,
So
that's perfect.
You can't get any better.
Yeah. You may have just defined my Christmas tradition moving forward. Man, that sounds great.
Duck.
Peking duck.
The Muppets Christmas
Yeah.
Carol.
Oh, what could be more perfect than that?
I haven't even seen Peking duck on a menu in I don't even know how long. Like, it's been on the level of decades, and it was last time I think I saw it. It had to be ordered 24 hours in advance.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's probably on it. I just always, zip right past it to sweet and sour chicken. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I go right for the shark fins. Never mind.
How about you, John?
Terrible. I'm terrible. It was a quiet holiday time. I mean, Christmas came and went. New Year's came and went. Worked Christmas Eve, worked New Year's Eve.
Right.
So it's just kind of like, okay. The problem when you get to in industry like soda shipping is that you have everything runs to the last absolute bloody minute.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
And so it really, but for getting out a little bit earlier on those two holiday Eve nights, really nothing to say too much of. This year is going to be really interesting because I think doesn't this year push everything one day forward? So Christmas Eve is like Saturday, New Year's Eve is Saturday, and Sunday is the holidays. So it's like they're going to run us ragged right straight through Friday night. Right straight through Friday night.
They are.
So, talked to people, hung out with friends, ate some more, kept eating. Tried to, and it's, again, Genshin is like such a shot in the side because I'm trying to get more anime watched. And it's like, I finished Fruits of Evolution. I finished, a couple of others. I finished Beastars 2 finally.
Oh, nice.
Wow.
I adore that show. I really liked where they went with Beastars 2. I was like, congratulations on who was it? Netflix did that?
Yeah, Netflix.
Yeah, Netflix and Studio Orange. Yeah.
Yeah, I just was like, wow, good job on that, guys. You shot yourselves in the foot canceling Cowboy Bebop, but you did good with Beastars. And then like I said, Genshin's like a shot in the side. It's like every day, the time I would watch a bunch more anime, it's like, oh, gotta get you. So.
Yeah, they dropped a new region, by the way, for those watching this a couple of days ago. So that also is definitely a time sink. New things to explore. So.
Yes, I was cranking away on that today.
Yep.
And Brent, how about you?
Brought to you by John.
Hey, yeah.
If it comes out of Silver Springs, Maryland, or out of the Baltimore plant, yes, it may well be.
Quiet. We I was lucky enough that I was able to take the week between Christmas and New Year's off.
Nice.
Basically, we had a break in the class at that time, so none of the students were there. So it's kind of like, well, I could sit on my butt for a week with no one else in the office, or I could take the time off. So did that, saw the parents, and then did a multi-day
Nice.
trip down to southwestern Virginia.
Yeah.
And went
Yeah,
to
that's
see,
right.
Yeah, Abingdon, Virginia, cute little small town down there, and then Breaks Regional Park, which is
Where's that?
Near Abingdon, Virginia. So it's Southwest Virginia, and it has the Grand Canyon of Virginia in it, which is not that big. But it's a big gorge, basically, that you drive up and look down into, and there are overlooks, and it's very scenic. So got to see that.
Is it gorgeous?
I'm not going to honor that with a response.
I had to.
Exactly.
It was required by law.
Yeah. It was also odd because I went on December 27th or 28th, I think, and driving up there, driving to the overlook, I was the literally only vehicle on the road.
Nice.
I saw no other humans. And getting to the top of sort of not quite a mountain, but a very tall rise, and realizing I have no cell phone service. Hope nothing goes wrong.
That's when the Bigfoot comes out of the woods. Oh no! Help! Call me. That had to have been beautiful, though. Was it absolutely pristine silent?
Yes,
except for the sound of your vehicle.
That was the other strange thing is getting out of the car and just nothing. And you're not high enough up that you're hearing like birds screeching or anything. Obviously, animals exist, but it is very, very just like blanket of snow silent.
Nice.
Yeah. So did that. I was talking Blacksburg. Did some trails there. There's a really nice trail at an old coal mine. Where you can't obviously go into the mine anymore, but the property has now been converted to all trees. So you can walk all around the coal mine property. So that's really nice. A lot of trails, and a lot of them are just like literally dirt trails through the woods, like well marked, but it's not. You definitely feel like you're out in nature very much on those trails. That was cool. Yeah, and then came back up here. And spent some time writing and reading and doing all that kind of stuff, which was lovely. Yeah. I've actually been getting back into manga. So, in fact, this was today. So, volumes 1 through 6 of Rurouni Kenshin. I got through this morning, basically, and this afternoon.
Brent, hold on.
Oh. Yes?
YouTube just did something, and it just the stream stopped.
Stream stop. It seems to be fine on my end. I'm seeing 7 concurrent viewers.
It just blanked out on my end.
I am still looking here. I'm looking at all of my numbers. We will double check.
I still see us.
Do you still see us?
Okay. Now
check.
An ad just popped into the middle of us talking.
Let me double check. I don't think I turned on ads for this, but maybe I did.
Yeah, I don't know. It just suddenly it went out, and then there was some woman talking.
Like weird. Monetization is off, but that won't stop YouTube. Obviously.
Oh wow!
Okay.
See, that's weird because I'm not getting any of that. I'm seeing us. I mean, it's on a delay for me.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, I have us on Zoom on one side, then I have the muted stream on the other, just so I can see what's going on, and the YouTube stream just blanked out into a Viz Media ad.
Interesting.
And then some lady talking.
Thanks, YouTube. Appreciate that.
Yeah, that was kind of weird.
Sorry.
Okay. Meant to ask, did you go to the Abington Theater, or at least go by it?
I went by it. Yes. So I saw it. Like it wasn't open at the time. There were no performances at the moment.
Is it like some kind of historic building thing? Because I've heard it on the radio, but I've never been around it.
Yeah, it's a lovely building. A lot of Abingdon is the kind of these historic buildings in the sense that they're early 20th century kind of stuff. Very very charming, quaint town. And it was lovely. It was clearly a town where people came to that theater, right? Like it was a lot of cafes next to that and other things around that, you know, and then outside of town there's like, you know, tractors. You know, it's very, this is kind of that town.
Well, I mean, that's honestly the only ad I've ever heard about Abington ever was like, oh, such and such is going to be at the Abington Theater. And it's like, okay, I don't know what that is, but okay, cool. I keep hearing them talk about it. I figure it must be neat.
They were doing a stage. They were advertising that they had going a stage play of A Christmas Story, which would be
nice.
That'd be fun. Yeah,
yeah, that'd be very interesting to watch.
I wonder if they had a kid actor or if they're all adults. Don't know.
It's just a really large adult in children's clothes, so it's kind of walking awkwardly.
Ralphie.
I want a Red Ryder BB gun with a compass in the stock. You're like 42. What the hell's wrong with you?
So reading Kenshin. So getting back into Kenshin, trying to hopefully finish it out. I actually have all of Kenshin in manga form, but never actually read the whole manga all the way through. So looking forward to doing that at some point. It's interesting going back and reading, you know, the manga adaptation of an anime I've already seen. So seeing the differences there and the stuff that they adapted or didn't adapt, and just the pacing and so forth. And you can very much tell with Kenshin that like Watsuki had plans for stuff going on, but like a lot of stuff was evolving over the course of the story. So it's funny seeing characters that are like really big in early parts of the story just completely disappear. Like, oh, I just don't care about this anymore. Like, it's not going to be important in the future. Like these other storylines are ramping up, and that is that plan. Oh, Jay asked, very very good question. Did I win the Anne of Green Gables sale? I did not. There was an auction over the holidays of a bunch of cool stuff. I bid on Anne of Green Gables sale for what was it like? I think about as high as
really low.
The number in my head was $70. That seems high.
I want to say it was like 40.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's more like $30 to $40.
Yeah, I was gonna say it was not terribly expensive, given how it's like holy crap.
Yeah,
how old that is.
Yeah, it sold for like $220. Like that was the final auction price. So I let that one go. But yeah, in fact, do I have here in the Discord? I'm trying to remember where I actually posted about it. I
know. As soon as we finished like ogling all of these cells that could possibly be purchased, I turned off that. Just walked out.
That was like undoubtedly wise. There we go.
If anybody's going to have Christmas and food and light and heat, we're not going to go on this site right now.
$240 for the Anne of Green Gables cell. There was a cell of Sailor Mars and Sailor Venus from the episode where they're saying goodbye to Chibiusa that went for $800. There's a cell of a God Warrior from Nausicaa that went for $1,800. There's a cell of a Rei Ayami's face, just kind of looking at you, just the whole face. That was $1,100. The big shocker for me is they were selling off an Evangelion title card. So it was just when the name of the episode comes up, it's just a white black text on a white background. That was technically a cell, like they had to draw that and put it somewhere.
Right.
That sold for $3,200.
Oh.
For just the text of like episode 19 or whatever in the title. So all in Japanese. That's kind of surprising. I was glad to see though, oddly enough, they had a cell from Sazai-san, the entire family all gathered around, and that went for $650. Which I think is I was afraid that would sell for like $20 because no one would know what it was. But no, like there are people who know what Sazai-san was. So that's good. But so that is that. So yeah, that was pretty much my break. I can't think of anything else crazy. But we are here to talk about some anime that we watched recently. We're here to talk about Macross Plus, the legendary anime OVA from the 90s.
And to be fair, we did watch this last year, so
yeah, it's been a while.
Really long time ago.
Yeah. So for a little bit of context, Macross Plus is only the third or fourth Macross work, technically in terms of production chronology. Macross came out, and then Macross 2 came out. And Macross 2 was legendarily divisive. A lot of otaku did not like that in Japan. And so apparently Shoji Kawamori was like, I'm going to go back and make a Macross show and show you how it's done. And so he did Macross Plus. They were also doing Macross 7 at the same time, which Macross 7 is its own thing, very much its own thing. But Macross Plus came out and was definitely kind of a bit of a shocker in the sense of how mature it was. That it was definitely aimed at an older audience. And obviously, original Macross was not aimed at little kids, but more of a big space opera, big epic broad sort of show. Whereas Macross Plus is quite a bit more, feels like a serious Hollywood movie kind of a thing. And they pulled out all the stops for the animation in this one. Oh boy. So this was kind of, let me show you what Macross can be, aimed at adults, serious, sophisticated, mature storytelling. When you guys watched this, like what kind of stood out to you as the things that were kind of unique about Macross Plus, kind of different compared to other anime in general or Macross in general, things like that?
I just have to say the whole opening sequence of them, the three of them, running with the homemade little flying machine and them working and launching it and pedals, and launching it, and with the windmills going on behind them, to generate electricity and whatnot. And just the music that was coming through that, I had not remembered that song, and then it was just such a sad sounding song, and going along with something that was so happy, and then you realize that what you're experiencing is a collective nostalgia between the three of them.
A bittersweet memory.
Yeah. No, really, and the whole thing for me worked like an A and V, and and it just went through it, and it's just like, okay, here's your story, there you go, boom, done, and I was just like, wow, this is, and so when you say pull out all the stops, that opening sequence, you're just like, okay, this ain't gonna be crap,
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it is such a baller move to start with this thing with no dialogue, just music over this very nostalgic scene of youth, where you're like, oh, no explosions, no alien invasion. Interesting.
No giant mecha.
Yep.
Right.
Absolutely.
And that was what struck me about Macross Plus is like it's very light on the mecha, even though the mecha that they're doing is amazingly well done. It's not a story of a giant intergalactic space war.
Right. Yes, absolutely.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like Macross Plus, I was kind of expecting and I think I said this when we watched it, it's like the first time I dialed into it, the beginning sequences, I was kind of like, I thought it was gonna be Macross-ish. Where's all the fighting? And then it's just like I'd seen snippets later on from the entirety of the OVA, and I'm like, I don't understand this. Why is there a person singing, and what's going on? I don't understand. Test pilots? It's only through watching it in its entirety and with you guys where it's like, this is kind of one of those things you'd like to have from the original Macross.
Right.
The ship didn't just crash and then 15 minutes later it's a new spaceship they've rebuilt. No, there's people doing test piloting. There's people running different programs. They're doing the anti-gravity machines that rip out of the hull famously when the SDF takes off. You know what I mean? There are people who are reverse engineering this stuff, and it's like there is indeed a wealth of stories even before the SDF lifts off Macross Island. And it's like, this is kind of, even though you're on a different planet, you know, at a later point in time, it's that behind the curtain thing. These are things that are going on. These are developments that are happening. These are how human beings and Zentradi together have evolved into a society and how they're moving forward. I'm like, okay, I got you. I understand where this is going now.
Yep, that is exactly kind of the intent there.
Yeah.
It's one of the interesting things is that I think for a lot of folks, because folks are talking about Macross and Gundam in the chat, and Macross Plus is in many ways a very Gundam style OVA. You know, it's much more about kind of the boots on the ground technical details of these machines as kind of realistic fighting machines, as opposed to aliens pew pew pew, right? And I'm not complaining about Macross. Just Macross is a much more space opera-y big thing. And it's just never been one of its focus, and so it's kind of neat seeing something that is more in that mold. Totally. As you also pointed out, so the anime is set at New Edwards Air Force Base, which is a kind of a clue because Edwards Air Force Base is totally a real thing. So Macross Plus is actually extraordinarily loosely based on a real event. There was a program at Edwards Air Force Base to choose which of two fighter plane prototypes would go into production. And I think it was around the F-14. I think the F-14 was one of them. And apparently as they were kind of researching stuff for Macross Plus, they're like, oh, that's a great sort of, backdrop for a story is that. So let's use that as inspiration. Sadly, there were very few Zentradi at the actual Edwards Air Force Base.
Yes.
I know, very, very sad.
I call racism.
Yeah, pretty much. It's also interesting, like just how much this OVA does without a lot of dialogue. So like the scene of the YF-21 starting up and just seeing Gould, strapped in and seeing like the ship flex and move on its own, and you're realizing, oh, okay, like there's a whole mental connection thing here. There's a lot of really smart, showing, not telling. The OVA.
Well, when you got the budget to throw at it, you can.
Yeah, exactly.
No joke.
Yeah, I mean,
Totally.
I love original Macross. And it's reiteration is a Robotech thing. But there were a lot of moments where it was not really on budget with a lot of what they were showing. Not like this.
No, exactly. I don't know how the folks in original Macross got the budget they did at the time. You look at other anime, like Voltron, Lion Voltron was same period roughly as Macross, about the same year it came out, and you can see the kind of budget you normally got for anime at the time. It's like, whoa.
Oh yeah.
But you go back to some of those those Etano circuses in original Macross. It's like, dang, who is spending all night drawing that? Totally. For me, it was really that mature, sophisticated storytelling of Macross Plus that really got to me. And to that point, fast forwarding a bit, so you have this whole issue between these two test pilots, Isamu and Gould, and then they see this woman named Jung show up, all of them here on New Eden at New Edwards. And what's so interesting about this is how the restraint the writers have in all of this, where there's backstory, there's stuff going on, but nobody sits there and says, well, as you know, Gould, 10 years ago.
Let me re-explain to you the things that we all know, but we'll just reiterate them because it's fun.
Right, yeah. No, and even further, like everyone's dancing around the issues. Like there's clearly elephants in the room that people are just refusing to acknowledge.
Yep.
Especially in this legendary scene of them. And it should be noted, like, this scene where the three of them actually meet is at sunset. It is hard to color anime in this lighting, right? You have these very harsh shadows. You have this coloration. You're trying to get across where all the characters are. You're trying to get across. You have to communicate that a lot through body shapes. The fact that big guy here, small woman there, all that kind of stuff to communicate to the viewer who they're looking at, because it's mostly black. It's mostly just dark shapes.
Yeah.
So, and one of the things that I love looking at is kind of what an anime is showing you through its animation. And this is one of those things where, like, no, we're choosing something difficult to do to show you that we can do something difficult. It's just amazing work all throughout it.
And all the kids in the ink and paint department going, I hate you.
Yeah, exactly.
I just hate you. I'm running out of midnight black. Damn you.
Yeah.
Just get a Sharpie. You'll be fine.
Yeah, and just all the stuff happening here. It's really impressive. So there's that. And then one of the other interesting things about the OVA to me, and I know Steve, you want to talk about this, is the overall mecha designs. And just the YF-19 versus YF-21 and all that kind of stuff, and how distinctive this is. Like, one of the things that struck out to me is Macross is famous, as is Gundam and a lot of other mecha shows, for its proliferation of designs, where you got to show all the different toys, and they show no restraint here. It's just these two mecha.
Ooh, yeah. And you sit there and you watch it and you just go, I want. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Can I have? Can I has? Yeah,
they got me. Gold ship. I bought that when I saw it, and I was like, oh, yeah, I'll take one of those. And, well, actually, I bought both.
Yep.
Well, it was just, like in the first combat scene, where they're on the asteroid and it's almost impossible to keep up.
Absolutely.
With how quick they were moving and all that stuff. And it was just really, I actually really enjoyed that part of it and how quickly it was happening, and that we weren't getting a prolonged cockpit scene of, I wonder what his next move will be. It's just like, no, press button, bang, bang, you're dead. Okay, here we go. Real life, not real life, but, realistically speaking, of like, okay, this is Battlefield, people just die like that.
Yep. Yep, it's over.
And then you move on.
Think about shots from, like, Do You Remember Love? Where you're in the cockpit and you see the radar display and you hear that, and you see, like, little triangles show up, and you're just, that's it. Like, there's no action. It's just focused on that. It's like, well, they probably already seen you too, and you're going to die in like 3 seconds.
But it was just so fun to watch, the changes and going so quickly. And one of the things in terms of like technical design, one of the things I really enjoyed, a small snippet of scene that I think is going to live with me forever, is that when he's getting reamed out by the captain after action, doing the after action report, where he's told he's going to go to New Edwards, and he's standing on, and you can see the fleet below where he's standing, and it's just like this clear thing that you can look down and you can almost have a 360 view. And I was just like going, oh my god, somebody sat there at like 3 a.m. was just going, I have to finish this, and it's just beautiful, it's wonderful. But then when you get to the two test planes, and it's what you were saying earlier about Gold's ship, where it's just like, it's almost like, whoa, just like thing just living, and it was just like going, oh, I like that. I like the idea of that. and then, but contrasted with this like semi-living thing that's connected to Gold's mind, you still have the human SAFD, the fighter plane, that one, which is much more, you get the sense of mechanical, pilot driven, not a oneness. Whereas Gold Ships is a oneness, and you that's when you start seeing, interestingly, faults in the designs of both. You start seeing that a little bit, and then it comes more and more apparent, and then we get the end in battle, and with apparently unlimited ammo. But
well, yes,
well, you can't go pew 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 with no ammo.
Right. So, well, and episode 1, I'll give them credit for ending it by very much paying off on that, because it is about the YF-21 just stalling out because of the neural interface, and then Isamu being able to go in and rescue him, but then that immediate reaction of the mental system that it can do exactly what Gould wants right in that moment. Like he doesn't have to move anything.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, like that is powerful and dangerous. But like I get it. Like I understand why somebody would want that in a plane, right? It's also just so cool because of what they do with this moment. This idea that both of these, very much jet jockeys are pushing each other the entire time. And so how much of this, from a dramatic perspective, there's this idea of how much of this are they ever going to actually admit to anyone? What layers are going on in terms of macho thing that they could then be hiding all of these design flaws? And it makes you wonder, like, even in real life, and I love how anime will do this. They let you think, how much of the design of like actual airplanes are influenced by the pilots just being like, oh, it's fine, right? Like how much of this ego also comes into things where like, we'll take care of that. They're talking about with NASA when they're going to the moon. One of the things they had to like really drill into people is saying, if something goes wrong, tell us. Don't try to handle it on your own. Don't say it'll be fine. Like we need to know what's going on.
We can hold our breath for 2 days. We're fine. We don't need oxygen. Screw that.
We'll walk home. It'll be good for us.
It was the F-105 Starfighter. I think it was a jet from the. It was called a Starfighter. I don't remember what the designation of it, but it's this long like pencil.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Yeah,
with stubby ass little wings. Had very very like poor combat like maneuverability, but it was insanely fast.
Man in a missile, I think was what they called it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's like, and that's the kind of thing where it's like, okay, you're evaluating this thing, you got to get it in. I have no doubt a test pilot was like, okay, I can't really steer, I can't really shoot,
but this is awesome.
I can go incredibly fast. So how was it? It was the best plane ever. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's got crap for bomb load. It's got crap for missiles or guns. This thing goes so fast. It's useless then. Thanks. Appreciate that.
Exactly. Yeah, and so that's how we end episode 1, and then episode 2 introduces us to Sharon Apple. Really, we've seen a bit of Sharon Apple in episode 1. We were introduced to the concept of a virtual idol, but we really start digging into it here. And as we pointed out, this was an early Yoko Kanno soundtrack.
So good.
Yeah, I know she'd done Escaflowne before this. I think she'd done another Shoji Kawamori work. I'm not sure off the top of my head. This is definitely a very early Yoko Kanno soundtrack. And you think of how experimental Sharon Apple is. All the different genres, all the different styles, just the sonic landscape of this OVA is one of the things that sells it for me.
It's again another impressive element of like how they're keying this in for an OVA.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Right. And not just a single OVA, a 4-part OVA. Where it's like, wow, okay.
Yep. Absolutely.
If Macross had been a total turkey, this never would have happened.
Yeah, exactly. So episode 2 starts delving into this whole idea of the Virtuoid Idol experience. And I'll say this is one of those. This was a fairly transformative sequence for me when I watched it. Like, I wanted to go out and learn how to make holograms after watching this. Because it's just so cool, this idea of this sensory concert that's just completely happening all around you and creating all these visuals and images and time to the music. It's really cool. And you think this was...
It beats Pink Floyd at the Planetarium.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hands down.
I would imagine there's probably some old school Deadheads from Grateful Dead experience that probably had very much of this experience and had nothing to do with holograms.
Exactly. Very much so. That's one of the things that the OVA is really dealing with is this idea that, that is very much what this feels like to the people in the audience, right?
Yeah.
It is this transformative experience for them because it is so overwhelming. And obviously music has always been an important part of Macross, but keying it in this way where it's not the song that saves the universe. It's this sort of whole experience. Yeah.
Remember, I'm blanking on the name of the anime. I think it was one of our watches from last year, where it was a young girl wanting to join a all-female troupe because she went to this concert thing where she wanted where the hologram came at her and she wanted to be an actress for this. It was, and I cannot for the life of me remember it. And it just now occurs to me. I'm just kind of wondering if that, in that anime, the guy's just like going, yeah, Macross Plus, let's do this. Yeah. We get the CGI, we can do it.
Yeah, interesting. I don't remember that off the top of my head, but it is tickling the back of my head. Yeah.
God, I was gonna say I got Anima Yell in the back of my head somewhere in there, but that wasn't it. That was just I can dance, I can do choreography, but I cannot sing.
Oh yeah, that one.
Yeah. God, I'm trying to think of Lapis Relights came to mind, but that's magic and singing. It's not hologram.
Right.
Yeah.
Still don't think.
Yeah. But yeah, and so I just love how this particular episode just continues to kind of go deeper on the stories of these characters. Where now that we have Sharon Apple, now that we have Myung, we're starting to understand, okay, like there's something broken about these characters. It's not just they have past. Like there's holes in them that they haven't filled, so to speak. And then you get that first sort of hint of what's going on. I love the parallels here, and again, massive spoilers. We saw in episode 1 how the brain control interface, mind-machine interface of the YF-21 had the flaw that it would react instantly to exactly what the person wanted. And now we have with Sharon Apple responding to what Myung really wants by trapping her inside and creating one of the things I love, and I'm sure I won't be able to find an exact screenshot of it, but when she's doing this, there's a sequence where they show all the circuitry, and they show like I'm not gonna find it, but they show different pieces of equipment. That's part of it. They show different locks. And they show things, all the doors being locked except one. And it just kind of, a bunch of things go down, and one is left lit. And you realize that Sharon Apple is leaving a space for Myung. Like, this isn't trying to kill Myung, it's creating a dangerous situation for Myung. And you blink and you miss it, but I love those little bits. And then Myung gets rescued. By Gould, which is not what I think a lot of folks would expect.
Right.
The hero doesn't get the girl, if you will. It is strongly implied that the two of them have a night together.
Yes.
They were playing Pinochle. That's all.
Yes, exactly. They're playing Pinochle. Yeah.
Indeed.
Something that sounded like that word. If
it was past 10 o'clock, even then.
Exactly. Exactly. And then I love how that kind of boils over in the following scene where they're all, going out and the two of them basically just, just throw throw their stuff down and just go at it with each other.
Yeah.
They just start punching and kicking each other. In fact, there's that wonderful scene where Go goes over and literally Isamu was just like kicking him with his mecha. Such a childish, ridiculous move. And then a shot rings out.
Yep.
And again, that kind of bringing the reality to it of, oh crap, like they could actually kill each other. And ending the episode on that is a great way of ending an episode.
Yeah.
Well, you get that nice, like, Gold looks over and he just sees it.
Yeah.
And you don't hear any dialogue or like, I could use this.
Mm-hmm.
Next thing you just know, you hear the shot. You're just like, oh, crap. Dude, really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yep. Exactly.
Explain
That
this one
errand.
right. Oh, wait, you do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that errant thought of like, I just want to kill you. Oops, what happens if you have a machine that can do things that you think? Like, damn
Exactly.
it.
And what's interesting here is exactly that, the fact that all none of these characters are shonen protagonists, right? You don't have the teenager who runs in where Angel's here to try to make basically Isamu, but Isamu is also kind of an idiot.
Kind of.
Yeah, I know. But Isamu isn't a very likable character in a lot of ways, and neither is Gold, and neither is Myung, really. And it's just fascinating doing a story about these sort of flawed characters, where it's like, yeah, I'll manufacture this experience to possibly kill this person. Like, wow, okay.
But I think it's much like what we enjoyed about Lane, like Professor Airy.
Yeah.
The man's deeply
Right, yeah.
flawed.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like having the perfect super scientist.
Right.
That's great. There are certainly plot points that you can have the wonderful super scientist give his grandson a robot. That's fine.
Yep.
Because the grandpa super scientist is important here.
Mm-hmm.
But these flaws give them so at least that element of connectability where it's like, yeah, they're not just these great people doing great things. They're people with real issues trying to do the best that they can in any given situation. It's like, okay, that gives you an everyman moment where you can be like, I can see with that.
Absolutely.
So next time I get in my brain controlled car, I'll have to remember to control my emotions.
Yeah. Soon.
Never give me one.
Yeah, I'm not. No. I'm going to stick with old school. Thank you.
There was a great sketch comedy of a woman going out to interview somebody on the day that jetpacks become available to the general population. And she's interviewing somebody and says, "This doesn't seem like it's going very well." And in the back of him, he's always going, "Ah! Ah! Ah!" Just the entire time. There are people just, slamming into trees and all that because they're just,
Mankind is not ready.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh dear. But yeah, totally. I mean, that's one of the powers of Macross Plus. This is about mature storytelling. These are not typical kid heroes. And the fact that, and again, you get these layers with the scene which by the way, very Evangelion, with the inquest on Gould.
Yeah.
Very much Sealy operating here, and the whole fact that, again, the fact that partway through they're like, well, we've seen enough. Everything seems fine here. Go on about your business. And people are like, really?
You're not supposed to do it this way.
The big guy's kind of a psychopath.
Yeah.
With a very, very dangerous thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Lunch.
Totally.
All right. Lunch for me.
And the fact that, nobody says, well, obviously, these people are trying to do X, Y, Z. You're just left trying to figure it out as a viewer.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
But I mean, again, it's the deep think on this where there are other factors involved in the background that now we're kind of clued into. Be like, wow, shouldn't he get thrown in jail in the brig or something? It's like, nope, we now have a very clear message that's like, no, there's other things on the table with this whole entire program, and each of these people at the inquest is a key actor in what's going on.
Yep.
So this is peanuts.
Yeah.
This does not matter.
Mm-hmm.
The attempted homicide.
Right.
It doesn't matter. There's much bigger fish to fry in this situation. It's like, that's a wonderful hint that, I I really would like to. I'm assuming if this had been like a 12 episode or 24 or more, that we could have gotten a little more meat in that to be like, okay, now we're behind the curtain on the machinery that's going to go into the big space battle. That would be behind the curtain of behind the curtain.
Right, yeah.
Right. You know, to be like, okay, well, who are the players in the technology to get to the space war? Like,
it was one of the great things about Gundam The Origin, the OVA, is that was very much that for the Gundam universe, is what was going on behind the scenes. Why was Char here? Why was this person here? You know, yeah, absolutely. It's you know, as otaku, we love all this stuff. Give us all the world building.
Well, just it fleshes things out so nicely that then when it's done well, now you can screw that up terribly. Yeah. But when you do it well, that those people who follow it are like, oh my God, I understand the position that you're coming from now. That makes the story much richer. I'm like, ooh.
Exactly. Yep.
I just have to say it. I think it was Gendo all along.
Yes.
It was Gendo.
It's always Gendo.
Gendo.
I think Shinji was the actual mastermind.
Well,
he manipulated everybody into doing his will somehow.
You know,
guys, but he hates himself.
You know,
so it's like negative.
We spent like 6 hours, 8 hours going through all those Eva films.
Yes,
I thought we would have gotten that out of our system by that point, but apparently not.
No. It never will.
It never will. It's true. That is the curse of Eva, is it never quite leaves your mind.
I was to say today I was listening to anime music on the phone. And I'm like, I don't have Cruel Angel's Thesis. I'm like, oh God, no.
Yeah.
No,
you are not a true otaku.
Apparently not. So it's in there. The worm is in there.
Exactly. It should also point out, I just realized, or just discovered, Macross Plus actually came out a year before Evangelion.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow.
So Macross Plus was 94, Evangelion was 95. So any comparisons we see in this is actually original to Macross Plus. So good for that.
Nice.
I agree, Jay. I'm curious how much Midnight Black paint for Macross Plus, because there's a lot of it. There's a lot of dark shadows in this OVA. Yeah, totally. Let's see here. I'm trying to figure out what else is kind of note in episode 3. As you could kind of build up more the stuff between the various characters, but it's very much build up to the end. And this is again one of those interesting choices of this, is that it's like, well, no, actually, we're all, it's all kind of over. We're all going to go to Earth now, because there's going to be a big concert around the SDF-1, and like every Macross fan is like, excuse me, yes, please.
We're going to the thing?
Yeah, we're going to see the thing.
And did we all recall my reaction?
Yeah.
Exactly. It was that. Like, SDF-1. The candy store.
Yeah, totally. Because it is an iconic thing, and being able to see the SDF-1 and how Earth has kind of recovered from everything that went on in that. In fact, one of the things I want to check out. Let me see here.
All of the reaction weapons.
Yeah, exactly. So, original Macross took place in 2009. So, it's good to know that in 30 years, that's all it takes for humanity to build a massive technopolis all around the SDF-1, and completely recover from a global thermonuclear war that decimated the entire, surface of the planet. One of my favorite.
They did have the Robotech factory they dragged back from deep space and planted in orbit around Earth. So presumably with mankind's ability to engineer stuff and figure things out and take things apart, maybe that was the super science that happened.
Yeah, no, I totally believe that, because one of my favorite things about Macross is just the absurdly compressed timelines of everything. Because I think like 10 years after that, there are generational starships going off to other worlds. It's like, Okay, we can just build those now. Great. Okay, cool. Just moving on.
Well, it's at the end of Macross. You have like, oh yes, the SDF-2 was destroyed, and the SDF-3 is only in part construction in orbit. And it's like, wait a minute, there's a 2?
Yeah.
Where
Well,
the hell did 2? Where was that?
I think that's Robotech, though, right? That's not Macross.
Well, I thought the end of Macross they discussed that they were trying to build ships. Robotech did the same thing, but it was the same idea where it's like they had to build to get out to the Zentradi, to get out and away from Earth and establish a defensive line.
I thought that was only Robotech plotline.
No, I thought that was Macross.
Yeah, I may be wrong.
At the very last episode.
Yeah. But it's been a while, so I'm not sure.
It has been a while for me too.
Exactly. But yes, and so you have the fairly Hollywood plotline of Isamu deciding to go off to sabotage the concert and the release of the Phantom Fighter. As we have just kind of this whole build up to the climax and kind of who all the actual bad guy is, which is a nice reveal. Let's see here. And then we move on to episode 4, which is basically...
Was it the actual bad guy, Spike's voice from...
Yes.
Yes.
Was that what you were saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That is very much Steve Bloom as a villain. It was a very interesting fate in this storyline.
Which I don't really understand. I mean, I accepted it, but I was just like, really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's our choice. That's our choice. That's our choice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I honestly think the reason is, and so basically he just falls off a platform to his death. I honestly think they forgot. Like, I think they wrote all this stuff, and then they realized, oh wait, what happens to him? Like we never actually wrote his death into the storyline. And so they kind of went back and said, well, always have a scene where he like falls down and move on. I don't know.
It was so random.
Concert.
Right, yeah, pretty much.
It was so random because it's just like going, okay, here he is doing this massive machinations behind the scenes, his own, and then it comes to fruition and he's happy and there's all this stuff and then he just jumps.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, oh, are we sacrificing ourselves? What?
Maybe he thought Sharon was going to catch him.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, did he misjudge that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I took it at the time that he was just off his rocker. That just he was gone. You know. But I agree that looking back, it's kind of like doesn't make sense. But yeah,
Come on, people, we got to wrap this up. Come on, every character.
Exactly.
I can wrap it up right now. He's dead. She's dead. They're dead. Everyone's dead. Damn.
Well, speaking of which, this is also where the fight between Isamu and Ghoul reaches fever pitch as they just kind of
destroy everything around.
Yep.
Oh,
30 years of
just
progress.
imagine if you're
exactly
right. Well, you're in one of those buildings. You know, you've recovered from the thermonuclear war, and everything's happening, and all this stuff, and you happen to look out the window. Oh, look at the fireplace! And then there's your death.
Yeah, right.
You know, it's just like a missile. Wait, what? Oh god.
Do you want the spaghetti pill for dinner or the beef bourguignon pill for dinner? Is that a missile?
And
we'll be having that for dinner.
I do think this is sort of Macross Plus's, not apology to, but it's just kind of reference to that sort of absurd space opera epic, tone.
I mean, it was glorious. I enjoyed it.
It's glorious and ridiculous, and you do have these giant epic, destructive sequences. I think this is kind of that. We're like, okay, we got to do this at some point. We're going to do it here. It doesn't really fit the tone of what we've been doing up to this point, but it's fun. Who cares? Why not? It's anime.
We're going to throw the kids a biscuit. They'll be fine. They'll
right.
Be happy with it.
And then we have the big reveal about what actually happened those many years ago. And I want to address something because there's been some controversy lately about Macross Plus and the sexual assault scene here with Myung in the past. And I don't think that's what that is. When you see that sequence, and I don't think I'll be able to find a shot of it. I can get young Gould. All we see is Isamu and Myung together. Gould comes in, sees what's going on, grabs Myung, throws her to one side, rips her shirt, and then looks up and sees himself. I think that's a scene of violence, not sexual assault. I
would agree because, how do I explain this? So when the assault happens, when he walks into the thing, he sees what's going on, and believe it or not, I actually interpreted that as her going to Isamu and saying, "I'm having problems with Gold."
Yes,
and I think that's I don't think there was anything going on between the two. Yeah. Maybe Isamu wanted to, maybe, but I don't think that's what was happening. Yeah. That's the feeling I got from it. Yep. Then Gold comes in, and like you said, he throws her down, and I think it's more along the lines of just blind rage. And it's a problem that he has, which is his anger. And, you know, just like this, it's the trope, you know, I'm an angry person. And so I did the thing, and I'm just like, how dare you? Why would you do this? Why would you be a whatever with this guy and rip her shirt open and then just stop? Yeah. You know, because there is no intent of sex.
Yeah. It felt like domestic assault. No question.
Yeah.
Yeah. But not.
Well, and I think it certainly plays into the fact that, you know, he's Zentradi. Or at least he's Zentradi bloodline. Yeah. So it's like it features into, at least my watching it, not so much a sexual assault as in here you have somebody who is, you know, eons of genetic manipulation to be the ultimate fighting machine, trying, like the Macross, you know, saga had laid out, trying to like wind down into a domestic civilian kind of existence. And here you have him unglued. Yep. Like he thought he understood the relationship with Myun, and Isamu is like, it's like that does not compute. Yeah, and this is a blind, like I'm a Zentradi, damn it, I take what's mine moment, and it's not a sexual assault. It is a complete domestic battery. Absolutely,
yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's still horrifying and terrible.
No question. And clearly meant to be. And I think it also ties into the problem of deculture, of that you know he's not processing, you know, normal human relational interactions the way a human would. He's seeing, you know, oh, you know, you're supposed to love me forever. That's the way love works, right? And it's just that thing. And the other evidence of that too is that, and obviously I'm no expert, but it seems odd that they would write her then sleeping with him later on if that had been a sexual assault experience in the past. It seems like it would have been a very clear, like, uncomfortable on this. It's interesting how they kind of approach that and how that just kind of plays out as this. I completely agree. I think it's his rage showing up more than anything else.
Which for the technology of 30 years to get, you know, the technopolis that's around the SDF, you still, you know, I said eons of Zentradi existence was cloning. Yep. I mean, like the whole series, they didn't have any kind of like civilian love culture and having children and having, you know, that kind of society. So it's like 30 years later, Gold is still like very tall person. You know, they've dialed down at least to get the Zentradi more, you know, more along the similar size as human beings. But 30 years is not enough time to dial in like, okay, this is how we live in a civil society. So,
according to the wiki, he is explicitly a Zentradi human hybrid. Which is kind of interesting too. That whole idea of, you know, how much runs in the blood, so to speak. I guess. Yeah. They're exploring as well. Because obviously this is also, you know, a plot line around like racism, right? And you know, and how people are seen versus about their past.
Well, I always like the way that they you know hijacked Army of the Southern Cross to make Dana Sterling the child of
right.
Quadrano Lita Miria
Yeah.
and Milia and Max Sterling.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like she's a blonde-haired, blue-eyed.
Yeah, nothing Zentradi about her.
Was
No.
like, it was entirely a Zentradi woman, and here you're blonde-haired, blue-eyed. Wow, that's an amazing genetic feat there.
Yeah,
Your
I guess,
father was like green hair. I don't remember what Max's hair color was.
Yeah, I think it was green.
Blue.
I think it
was it blue.
Oh, I think it's blue. You're right. It was blue.
Blue.
Yeah.
He was blue, and her hair was green.
Her green, exactly.
And they have a daughter who's blonde. Like, wow. Did you guys go to the Zentradi lab and just like mix the kid up in a petri dish? Be like, yeah, let's add that, throw some of that in there.
It's almost like that wasn't the original plot.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Like they hijacked another show.
Almost. Very strange.
But so you at least you do have the love plot line that does occur in original Macross with Max and Miria. So gold being the result of that, entirely likely.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, and it's obviously it's 30 years later, so it's probably somebody else. But I'm not suggesting them, but it's like if that happened for those two, sure.
I undoubtedly, once you got micronized enough Zentradi that they would fit in, as long as they were genetically capable of reproduction.
And then you get Macross Frontier and how micronization works in that, and that's a whole other side of things.
Did they try to explain it?
Oh no! There's a serious Zentradi lady warrior who, whenever she micronizes, becomes basically Klee from Genshin Impact. She becomes this like really cutesy like little girl whenever she micronizes, and like there's some weird flaw with how the micronization works with her DNA, where like she just micronizes more, and she suddenly how dare you? It's hilarious. You can tell the writer's just like, this is ridiculous. This is clearly a plot device. So we're just going to run with it. Like, we're not even going to try to make sense of this. We're just going to, have fun with it.
It's like, what is it? The Great Jahi, the series from this past season where she loses her soul stone and she goes from being this like, tough, second only to the Demon Lord to like this little tiny girl. It's like she's in like about
that's
10.
Exactly it. Yep, that's exactly
where
the
it's
idea.
just like, okay, that's the thing where it's like, let's take somebody who's like really badass and really like strong and we'll do something silly.
Yes,
like,
that is precisely the storyline.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they take that in directions as well because Macross Frontier. Anyway,
still haven't seen that. We'll get there eventually.
Yeah.
That might be okay.
Might be. Okay.
So we have our kind of final moment, our face-off between Isamu and there. And one of my favorite moments in this is when Sharon starts to take over the technology, and she takes over the ship and takes over the YF-19. Because from a dramatic perspective, I really like this idea that, she's taking over this technology, and I'm trying to fast forward because some of these things are in NSFW, and just nudity. But when she's taking over the ship and the mines, Isamu has no special mental training to keep him from being mind controlled by Sharon Apple.
Yeah.
Like, from a dramatic perspective, that's a really strong draw where it's like, he could totally just be put to sleep by this apparition because that's what it does. I love the fact that like that is the thing that starts to happen. Like it starts taking him over, and it's Myung that pulls him out, and it is. And the implication being that it's not just Myung pulling him out, it is Myung telling Sharon Apple, this is not what I want.
Right.
You've gone off in the wrong direction. This is my actual sort of goal in programming. And that is probably what kind of pulls Sharon back from the brink, or at least distracts her long enough for someone to then take control again and go in and take on Sharon Apple. And I just realized there's a Genshin Impact storyline that may be very strongly based on this. But anyway, we never stop talking about Genshin Impact now.
Of course, yeah. All the time.
And so that's our big climax is sort of And it's funny because so much of Macross is the power of love, right? The power of
Right.
that relationship. And here it is done in such a much more mature way, where it is two characters facing off against this obviously very absurd technological sort of MacGuffin, but in a way that is them simply saying, you know, this is what I want, this is not what I want. And not in that sense of, you know, I want to be with a guy because he's my guy, because I should be with a guy. It's much more about that accretion of feelings and problems and overcoming problems over the course of years and years in a relationship. It just feels more mature, which is awfully nice.
And we get to see the SDF-1 taken off.
Exactly. Yep.
And firing things. Oh.
And
mature. And very mature.
And very mature, yes. Yeah. No, I mean, let's not, you know, forget. I mean, I think we can have a shot of it. That moment, yeah, there it is, of the SDF-1 with Sharon superimposed on it and all of the tracers going off on it. That is an anime shot. You know? Yeah. That's the kind of thing where it's like that can only exist in an anime world, and it's burned into my memory forever. My gosh, what an image. Yeah. It's brilliant. Very, very brilliant. Yeah, and that's Macross Plus. Steve, I know you wanted to talk a little bit about the economy of war, the kind of the whole aspect in this around, you know, spending and such.
Well, it was just so. The fun part about this is that, you know, like, again, as we were talking about earlier in Macross, it's just like the thing happened, and we built the thing, and we did the thing, and we went off and did the thing.
Yeah.
Here, you're talking about, we're going to build a thing, but we might build this thing, but we need the money for this. Mm-hmm. So where are we going to spend the money? How are we going to do this? What is the economics of war? So what are we doing here to make, you know? And that's one of the things, the great things about this particular show. Actually, John, you were bringing up, where it's just like we get to see the little people do the thing.
Yeah.
You know, that is important. It's not just the little people doing the thing. This is an important thing that happens that we don't talk about in the big space opera. Mm-hmm. And, you know, so the economy of war is just basically when you realize that it's not only just two egos going at it with the planes that they've decided to be with, by the way. It's not like they chose the plane. They just said, well, I'm on this team, so this is my plane.
Yep.
And this is what we do. And it's all about a contract. It's about a design of a company to make this thing to keep the war effort going, or, you know, for the defense, or, you know, whatever it is. And so all that's playing it. So like when you're talking about the inquest, I mean, gold should have been like put in shackles and thrown into the brig, and it doesn't happen. And you realize that, oh, everybody's got a piece of the pie in this room. Yep. And they understand it. And while they're kind of frightened a little bit about the fact that some of them are just kind of like, can we just not do this now?
Yeah.
Because those are the people who don't have the investment into it. And it's kind of fun to watch the guy who's in charge of the base basically saying, almost, I don't care which one it is.
Yeah.
You know, I don't care as long as it keeps my base going.
Yep.
Because his thing is, I cannot do what I do. I cannot keep my economy going if we go to an all self-AI weaponry system.
Yep.
I want pilots. Pilots should be in there because that keeps the money coming to me.
Yep.
It's all about the money for these guys. For these guys. And then, and I know the scene where he stands there and the two of them, and he goes, now I know you're not going to do something so stupid as to fly to Earth and try to do anything. Don't do that.
Yeah.
You know.
I'm sorry, let me write that down again. What did you say not to do?
Exactly not to do.
Yeah.
Don't go to Earth with the ships that we're developing that the one looked out the window. Oh, yeah.
See the thing being gassed up, that's yours.
Yeah.
But don't
exactly.
The one that's being armed, gassed, and rolling out right now for you to get into, don't do it. Oh, don't.
But no, one of the things they established like really early on in the OVA is that New Edwards is off in the middle of nowhere, New Eden is like the armpit of the Earth Federation, whatever they call it.
Spacey.
UN Spacey.
Well, UN Space is the organization. I wonder what they call the
that's right.
actual known space. I don't. Anyway,
Mm.
the idea is New Eden's out in the middle of nowhere. Like this isn't an important strategic resource, right? If New Edwards Air Force, if AI fighters come in, New Edwards Air Force Base is getting shut down. You're absolutely right. It's this idea that no, like this is very much his baby. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right on that. And of course the music. Music's pretty good.
Yes.
It's fair to Midland. Yeah.
It was only somewhat touching and amazing.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
I didn't go online and link myself to any version of any of those songs.
Oh
whatsoever.
no.
And I have no 12 dozen iterations of any of those songs now.
Absolutely not.
No.
Definitely not.
Yoko Kanno is not a goddess. She's not a goddess of music. No.
No, simply a muse.
Yes.
The first words of my dream I can clearly see. Planet Eden, high beyond the skies. I'll sing the whole thing for you all. Like, I memorized that song. Like, that's how much this just sank into my soul. It's amazing. Future Boy asked an interesting question as we're rolling down. Do you prefer Macross or Robotech style storytelling? And that's an interesting point, given that Robotech is obviously sort of was using Macross elements for its story.
So what's interesting for me is I saw Robotech first.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
And I was very confused by Macross. Like I thought I was watching the same thing. And I was just like, wait a minute, hang on here. I think I like the Macross storytelling a little bit better. I just no real reason for it. It's just more cohesive, I think. And also if you really want the big ass space opera, that's the direction you want to go in.
Yeah.
Robotech had some interesting obviously some interesting designs and thoughts and stuff like that, but I just bought into Macross a little bit more.
Fair. John, how about you?
I can't ever give up that slice of my youthful brain that saw Robotech and just just exploded like, oh, this is amazing. I've gone back and I've watched Macross, and obviously in our discussion tonight, things are sort of blending together somewhere in the back there.
Yeah.
It's like I'm not entirely sure what's said in which one. I really enjoyed going back and seeing original Macross to understand where Robotech's feet were planted. I think Carl Macek did a fine job, even though he amalgamed two other series into it with bits and pieces that just generally don't make much sense. But for the time period and what else was available, you could overlook those like drastic gaps in like logic and just enjoy the fact that there was nothing else like it. So going back, having the ability, it's another element to it, the ability to go back and watch original Macross, and I still, the years have gone by, and it is that youthful piece of my mind. I don't want to watch Southern Cross.
Oh, okay.
I don't want to watch Genesis Climber. Not because I don't think that they're probably good, but I would be so disappointed if they were terrible. And I was like, oh, so my better opinion of them was as part of Robotech. I feel like that'd be terrible.
Well, I mean, go ahead. Sorry.
No, but that's I like them both separately for the things that they do and how they were done. So I cannot go back and erase the youthful person that saw this and was blindingly crazy, mad in love with Robotech. And I can't go back and take away the going and watching Macross and understanding more of what I'm seeing and understanding deeper the story that's happening. Sorry.
There's no. You got a point, John. There's a romance to Robotech.
Yeah, yeah. It's charming in its own way. Yeah, yeah. I'm totally with you. Like I look back on Robotech with great fondness. It was just it's a great ride. It also has one of my favorite line readings in all of anime, which is oddly from the Middle Saga. Just a great line, perfectly delivered, perfectly set right in the middle of things. And it makes me weepy every time I think about it. And I think they did a really good, as you point out, I think they did a really fine job. There's a moment on one of the DVDs where Carl Macek is remembering the process of bringing it over, and he says that, whoever was the head of Harmony Gold at the time, he brought everyone together for sort of a meeting when they were first starting the process of writing and dubbing Robotech, and he said, "We have the unique opportunity to make a TV story in which the audience's expectations are never disappointed. Whatever we tell them is going to happen in the next episode, whatever amazing thing we promise will actually happen. And we can actually say, stay tuned for the shocking events in the next episode, and they will legitimately shock people." And that was very much that feeling that Robotech
and we stayed tuned.
Exactly. Yeah. Robotech had that feel. I have great charm for that. Obviously, Macross is amazing for what it pioneered in the time, and for that attempt at more sophisticated, more serious storytelling. So yeah, I'm in just different camps. I think different camps. Yeah.
Yeah.
And for what it's worth, the director of Southern Cross, according to Macek, reached out to Harmony Gold and said, "Thank you for rescuing my baby from obscurity." Southern Cross did not do well in Japan because it took so long for the story to actually go. And he was afraid it would just kind of disappear, and he was so glad to see it find this new life in Robotech. So, there was definitely some appreciation that. You Remember Love, the movie, is not a Robotech story. You Remember Love is purely Macross. It never got incorporated into any of the Robotech storylines.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And a complete gift to the Macross fan.
Yeah.
Because if you don't know Macross, Do You Remember Love is still entertaining, but it's difficult to kind of lock it in. Like, where did this thing come from? What is this all about? Because it does not really address any of the core. This is how we got to this moment in time.
Yeah,
this is how this battle is shaping up. It is just a complete hug and kiss, and here you go to Macross fans. Be like, we've done the thing to the nth degree, so you can have the detail and anything that you want. Like, oh, thank you.
I love that in universe. that Do You Remember Love is an actual movie in the Macross universe. It is the official compilation story in the Macross universe of what happened during the Macross saga and the Macross War. That's how they were able to kind of make sense of why the storylines, because it's just a movie. They just condensed all the actual storyline into this movie, and that's what you're seeing here. It's like, okay, fair enough. Oh, so weird. Yes, this is Macross Plus. We were talking about the OVA. There is a movie edition of Macross Plus. If you ever see that, it is condensed but with more footage added. I've seen some of the footage. Some of it adds, frankly, some bloody, gory sequences to it. So some of the violence is ramped up. Other than that, I'm not familiar with anything else in it. The OVA I'm very happy with, so I never felt like, I want to go back and see that one. But there's a movie version if anyone's curious. And yeah, that is Macross Plus. Anything else you guys wanted to mention?
It was so nice going back to it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It was nice, nicely done.
Yes. Well done, everyone.
Yes,
well done.
Golf clap.
And from what I've heard, I don't know how true this is, but apparently the staff at Sunrise approached the staff of Macross Plus when they were finishing up, and said, "We're so impressed by this. Here's a blank check, basically. Would you like to make an anime here? We will bring you on to make whatever anime you want to. Like, we just want you on staff to make something. What would you like to make?" Kawamori was not interested, but a bunch of the staff of Macross Plus went to Sunrise, where they made Cowboy Bebop.
Oh, baby.
Apparently, that was the outcome of Macross Plus.
Oh,
Yep.
Thank you, Macross Plus.
Exactly.
A little OVA that gave so much.
Yeah, I don't know all the details. I don't know how true that is. It's a rumor I've heard, but apparently that's where that came from. So anyway, that is that for Macross Plus. We're going to take a quick break, come back and talk about some anime news, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Sweet.
Hello, everyone. Yes, we are back. Good to see everyone. Hope you enjoyed that look at Macross Plus. We'll be talking about anime news in a little bit. Any other anime manga you guys have been reading or watching lately that you wanted to mention before you get into that?
Well, go ahead, John.
Well, as I say, finished Selection Project.
Nice.
Something about the stupid. I got all like weepy happy at the end.
Oh, nice.
Jeez. Like it's just like at the end of freaking Love Live School Sunshine. And I finished the Scott Pilgrim manga series.
Oh, cool.
So yeah.
Oh, did you
Scott
like
Pilgrim
that?
versus the World. I enjoyed it up until Volume 6.
Really?
Okay.
Yes. And then Volume 6,
That
I kind of
sounds
struck me
about
as
right.
like, I just don't like Scott Pilgrim.
Interesting. Okay.
You're not supposed to, but yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, he went from being kind of like a hapless idiot to being like just not a generally very likable person.
Okay.
Well, he's a user. He's a user.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's said in like Volume 5 where he's like, hey, I'm a bad person. And the person he says it to looks at him and goes, you are a bad person. And it's like, yeah. So Volume 6, it wraps things up, sort of. But it's just like, I just generally was left this feeling of like, I wasn't particularly satisfied with his character growth and development.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
I didn't write it. It's not my baby. I can't say.
Fine.
So.
Soundtrack to the movie's good.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Garbage Truck by Sex Bomb.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Actually, good minute 27 right there.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. Cool. Steve, yourself?
Well, of course, I'm still, savoring. I'm going slowly through it, but I'm savoring every episode of Comey. Can't Communicate.
Nice.
And getting more into the, it's just a lovely little show. And of course, it's like I always say, I'm like going. I went all these years, not needing figurines or anything and like that. And now I'm just like,
Yep. You're not the only one.
So there's that. Yeah.
The Comey Can't Communicate subreddit is awash with people just champing at the bit for Comey figurines. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Do you know how long it took to get the figurine? When Good Smile asked for suggestions, do you know how long it took for the suggestion I made to like other people to get on board? It took couple 3 years. So if people are really chomping at the bit, Good Smile might move a little faster on that.
So we'll see. I'm just like, and like it's bad when I'm kind of like. I don't normally look at Etsy, but now I'm looking at Etsy.
Oh, yeah. I hadn't even thought about that.
So people are making some stuff over there.
No joke. Wow.
We are my watch of Eurocamp has to coincide with our schedules.
Right.
With the pretty lady who gives me food.
Yep.
And so we watch it together because we love the show together. And yeah, it's a really fun show. And we're at the episode where they went to the hot springs and they're late because they overslept because they ate the delicious fried egg thing, which I want, and it looks delicious.
The hot spring eggs.
Yeah. I'm just like, I know that I realize it's animated, but I'm just like, it just looks so good. I want it.
But that's the thing about Eurocamp. Yeah. It is a thing. If you go to that place, that is a thing. So it's like,
But one of the things that was really funny, and it's just so kind of like it happens to me all the time when you want to do the thing and the thing is closed. And Ren's like, onsen. And she gets there, she goes, are you serious? Are you serious? And that's like usually my reaction. It's like, are you effing kidding me? Serious? Yep. And she's driving away in the closet going, I'm just like, yes, I know that feeling. So, we were at a bookstore, just kind of looking for gifts and things like that. And of course, I gravitated to the manga section because it's right next to the sci-fi section. Yeah. And so, which is dangerous for me. I only have so much money. So
Steve wanders in. Steve never wanders out.
Yeah. I'm the guy who sits on the floor and just reads everything. So I saw, and I put a picture on Discord of Maison Ikoku. They redistributed the volumes, the big volumes, and they have this. The paper is high grade paper for the cover, and it even has a flap inner flap.
Ooh.
And it's textured paper.
Ooh.
And it looks, it's print, but you can tell the original art was chalk and crayon, and they would take a iconic panel from inside, one of the chapters and put it on the outside, and you'll see it on the Discord for those of you in Chatland under the picked up, and it's just beautiful. Now I already own this thing, like I already own the series, right? And so I'm looking at this and I'm like going, it hurts. It hurts so bad. I want this. I want it. And it's just like,
we wants it. We wants the pretty.
We wants the pretty. And of course, I took my little picture on the phone and just put it back on the shelf. I'm just like, but it was like one of those things where it was just like, I have to walk away,
Folks, curious. That's what it looks like. It is gorgeous. It is absolutely gorgeous.
So as I turn away, I literally turn away to the right, and I'm like going, "Are you kidding me? This thing that I'm staring at, I have never seen in my actual life. I know it exists. I've never seen it. I love his anime. I impulse buyed it. I started reading it.
Oh wow! Satoshi Kon's opus. Wow! Ho ho!
It is a freaking ride. I'll tell you that. It is.
I would imagine.
I mean, it just starts off. You're just like, okay, yeah, Manga King's Life, and okay. So here, look.
Oh, it's all in color.
No,
not
so
all.
What they do? No, what they do is they trick you. This is supposed to be the actual manga in the story. And then it goes from this to, it's a couple of more pages of the storyline. And then it goes to them doing this, just the penciling.
Mm-hmm.
And then it goes to them, the mangaka going, okay, is this good enough with his editor?
Yeah.
And that's just the first few pages.
So you're right? Reading the manga that the mangaka in the manga is drawing.
Wow.
Right. No, John, it gets better. It's like Paprika and everything else we've seen on Satoshi. It just goes in that direction. Man. So, and I'm already just like, wait, I'm already like, I got it's like Beautiful Mind. I got like the ribbons and the tape going. Okay, you gotta remember this goes to this and that goes to that. Yeah. To follow it. But it's glorious. It's the artwork is really surprising.
The mind of Satoshi Kon.
Well, it's weird because
Can I give you one spoiler?
Oh, I just opened to an unfortunate panel.
Yeah.
We're gonna go through. We're gonna
one spoiler.
No,
spoiler.
No, it's not a spoiler. No, it wasn't a spoiler.
Okay,
it's just a really horrific panel.
Bad things happen.
Yes, very bad things happen. And
can I give you one spoiler?
What's that?
Do you want one spoiler?
Sure.
Just wait until Satoshi Kon shows up.
Oh, Jesus. Okay, so...
Uh-huh. Yep.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yep.
But the interesting thing about the... Oh, my God.
And now for our cameo.
Like
oh, no! Not just a cameo!
Like part of my brain just went click.
Yeah.
Click. This is like, okay, we're shutting down now.
One of the gear wheel teeth fell off.
No, fell off.
Funk,
yeah, it's just
funk.
But the artwork in this reminds me so much of Akira.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So much of Akira.
Yeah.
But it's a very interesting read.
Well, that one shot you showed looked like Kaneda's face.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or the way his eyes were shaped in his face and his jaw.
And Kon was an assistant on Akira, for those not familiar. Like that's where that came from.
Yeah.
That was one of his big works. In fact, several of the Akira covers are Satoshi Kon drawings.
Yeah.
So, nice.
Yeah. That's really cool. I hope you. I don't want to say enjoy it, but I hope you find it a satisfying ride, a powerful ride.
So next week when we come on, I'll be like, like brain leaking out the ear, just like.
And we'll see your beautiful minds map across the right behind you. Like, what the heck is going on there?
Well, I watched an anime that was very much not that, very much the exact opposite of that experience. I watched Sora Iro Utility. This actually just today. This is the golf anime.
Okay.
The girl, the Moe golf anime. Hey, man, good to see you. And I did not realize it is a 14-minute TV movie. That's all it is. It's not a series. Basically, the studio like just launched, I think, 2 years ago, and they're working on basically anime adaptations of like popular mobile games, like the anime themed mobile games, like Arc Knights and that kind of stuff.
Genshin.
Well, yeah, that kind of stuff. So they're working on that stuff. Anyway, and apparently, like the director of this said, and I've always wanted to do a golf anime, and apparently, like just the funding came in to allow me to do like a one short TV movie of that. It is. I cannot think of a more accurate description of this as Yuru Camp, but with golf.
Oh boy!
It just in terms of the tone, the feel, it is just 3 high school girls who go out golfing. It's very chill. It's very relaxing. There's a little comedy, but it's just 18 holes with these 3 high school girls. As one of them kind of struggling with her, with her swing, but very much that kind of mode, if you will, right? Like that sort of pacing and structure of, we're not going to go too fast, but it's not like boring. It's very much that thing. But it's also, I should point out, like there's not a massive budget for it, and it's golf, right? It doesn't need a massive budget. And so like, if you're watching this expecting it to be, like Makoto Shinkai short, it's not going to be that. But it is a really charming, it has just the right amount of budget where, where they're teeing up, where they're doing the thing, all the frames are there. And I just really enjoyed it. It's a really not quite. What's the term for the Moe anime? Heartwarming.
Relaxing.
Healing.
Healing. Yes, it's healing anime. It is very much healing anime. Mm-hmm. So that
where the characters are just engrossed in the thing that they're doing, and it's done well and in its own pace in a natural sort of rhythm.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want a series out of this now. I very much want.
Interesting. I really want to see this now. And really,
apparently it's on Crunchyroll.
Really normally want to see golf.
Yeah, on Crunchyroll.
Yeah, apparently it is on Crunchyroll, and it's 14 minutes, so it's not a big commitment.
We fit that in between quests. I mean,
exactly.
Yes.
And then, did I mention on stream watching the Kenshin the Beginning movie? It's been a couple of weeks, and I can't remember if I did that over the week.
No.
Okay. So, I watched the live-action adaptation of the Kenshin origin story.
Oh.
Yes. Which is remarkable because the OVA is, much like Macross Plus, considered very much mature, sophisticated storytelling. There's no comedy, there's no nothing. It's this very dark samurai drama, basically. From an anime that is not very dark. It's a fairly light anime a lot of times. And man, that movie like nailed it. Like it is very much that storyline. There's no comedy. It is very much a serious samurai story about the tragic backstory of Himura Kenshin. It's really cool to see. They do adapt it a lot. There are quite a few changes, which I think are effective. Because they sort of expanded a few things, and I think it works really, 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 really well. So I'm very glad to see that. I have not. So I've seen all the other Rurouni Kenshin live action movies except for the last one, which adapts the final Kenshin arc, the one with Inishi. And so looking forward to checking that out at some point on Netflix. Full disclosure, that's not my favorite Kenshin storyline. It's fine, but for me, I know where Kenshin is going. I know kind of what the direction of the storyline is. So ultimately, what the final fight is kind of a moot point in that sense. And I've seen it adapted, so it's like I'm like, okay, I'm kind of good. But yeah, I'm definitely curious to see where they go with that and how they do that. I guess part of the problem too is it's basically in the original story, it's basically one big duel, and I just don't want to watch an hour and a half duel, And so I'm sure they'll add other things to it. They'll kind of stretch it out and they'll make it more interesting. But that's just less kind of strong on my interest. But yeah, like the live action Kenshin movies are absolutely, if you're looking for an effective adaptation of anime, that's it. They have nailed it every time.
Cool.
So checking scrolling up, Jay said he just finished K-On! The whole series in the movie. That's awesome. I have not seen the K-On! Movie. I should.
Me too.
I've not finished season 2, which I should.
Oh.
So I am the last human being on Earth to have not even seen it.
It's fun. I mean, here's the thing, Steve. Nothing happens in that anime. Like, there's no plot. Like, you're not missing anything.
Yeah.
It's just a fun show.
I just need to learn how to do the dance.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, exactly.
That's all. That's it.
And it is an experience watching the live action concert of K-On! That is quite the experience. N-Man asks, first question of 2022. I heard today that manga publishers are going on a copyright strike craze for YouTube creators. Someone I watched earlier today said he was going to make another video discussing it, but that it was a sensitive matter that was impacting anyone who discusses shows manga on YouTube. I'm curious if you can shed some light on this matter. I'm not familiar with that specifically. I do know that there is heightened interest in manga piracy, and there's definitely more crackdowns on that in general.
Yes.
I'm not sure. I have not come across like manga themed YouTube videos getting taken down, but again, I'm not involved in those conversations.
So it's probably along the same lines as the showing the anime in the corner, lower left-hand corner during a reaction video. Oh my God, that happened! That kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But it's more along the lines. I think what people are concerned about, are the creators, the manga creators are worried about spoilers and things like that. And they just,
Right. Yeah.
that thing. But I don't think it's so much that for manga that it's about, as long as you're not showing I'll show a little like the cover and a couple things and that'll be it. But it's not like going, okay, here's page 1. Let me read it to you. Page 2. And
just all the whole video with 2 pages.
Yeah, exactly. Which I'm sure there are channels like that.
Yeah,
somewhere.
But I think that would be a harder thing for YouTube to strike down simply because of fair use laws. Because it is when you like my channel talks about those things. So when I talk about something, I'm giving it a review. I'm saying here's the thing, and so I don't think they're going to necessarily shut down people for that. I think what they'll shut them down for is if they really just like focus on here's the thing. By the way, click my link down below if you want to know how to get to the thing.
Right. Yeah.
I think it's more along the lines of like, oh, Manga Fox, here we go. Show you, and you too can destroy your own iPhone. That kind of thing.
And it's also certainly possible that that the manga creators have now uploaded enough of manga that if you show, a full screen image of a manga, even if you're talking about it, that will trigger the algorithm. Right. So it's possible a few channels have gotten, triggered by that, where it's like, this is a legitimate video, but just there's enough of the actual content in crystal clear HD for some algorithm to find it.
Well, it's part of it is that, and part of it is what's happening with what channels who actually do digitize and make a video. There's a lot of videos out there for DC and Marvel comics where they'll show maybe not the entire comic, but a significant storyline portion within the comic. You know, like okay, here's the fight between Batman and Superman, and they actually show it, but they put it to music, and you know, so you get the story, so you don't have to buy the comic, right? So and you get an encapsulated story. So I think that's what they're worried about.
That could be too, yeah.
And those sites, which kind of annoy me, because what they're also doing is linking the Patreon, and they're saying, "Hey, give me money so I can keep making these videos." And it's kind of like, well, why am I giving you money to buy a comic to throw up with there, and then you're asking me for more money? And then isn't that
makes
taking
total
away
sense
from
to me?
Yeah. And you're taking away from the creator. So I think that's what they're really worried about is you know, creating a channel that gives away things for free, but at the same time they get to make money off of Patreon.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. So, yeah, Patreon has very much muddied the water of fair use. Because folks are like, you know, well, this is all fair use, and I'm making money off it. Well, that's like there's that's
not exactly
more complicated. So you make it more complicated.
There's a lot of complexity in all this. I don't even fathom in the least.
And you're absolutely right. And man, I mean, I've certainly seen a lot of folks go off the radar. It's weird because just recently I had a couple of YouTube creators that I haven't, like, I saw a bunch of videos come up on my feed that were like weirdly like strongly political, and I just don't really follow a lot of political YouTubers. And I found out that a couple of YouTubers that I had followed like 15 years ago, they were talking about anime, and it made like 3 videos and then stopped, revived their channels and started talking about, you know, highly political topics. And I was like, oh, you still exist. Okay, I'm unsubscribing now. Like, I don't care about what you're talking about these days. But it was weird. Like several different YouTubers all at the same time. It's kind of odd.
They were all about anime. Then terrible things in their lives happened, and now they're this way.
Yeah.
Strange. Anime ruined my life.
Yeah. But yeah, folks got off the wagon for a variety of reasons. It is very odd. I would say though, and I'm not the expert, but I would say if you're looking for thoughtful analysis of manga, you probably want to go to the blogosphere instead of YouTube these days. It's probably all happening on blogs and not on video channels, unfortunately.
Reddits and subreddits?
Yeah. I was actually reading an interesting article by a guy who did some really interesting articles on The Wind Rises, and he's interested in literary criticism. And he's written a couple of rants about how academia doesn't seem to realize that criticism and like thoughtful criticism has moved off of academia and into like blogs. That, like, you know, people in academia still seem to think that they're the ones kind of in control of actual like analysis of film, and it's like, no, like it's all happening over here now. Like, nobody cares what University of Iowa is, you know. Yeah, exactly. You know, all that stuff has really changed.
What I do.
Yeah.
What I do.
Yeah.
Or try to do, I should.
Yeah.
I should say.
Well, no, that's the thing. Is that, you know, there are so many voices that are academic quality, even, you know, out there writing some really interesting stuff. Where it's like, I don't need to buy that $100 journal
Right.
to learn about this stuff. Y'all hear that?
Here's something.
And I think we're back. That seems about right. Welcome to the latest anime news for the week ending January 8th, 2022. We have a slightly different format this time than usual. given that we have a slightly different setup than usual. Oh, and we have some things that are different here, but that's totally fine. Let us get started, though.
Nothing's on fire. So
Nothing's on fire. It's all good. It's all fine.
Good.
Japan has been attempting to crack down on the rampant piracy of anime and manga for the last few years. And this year, the project's going international. Companies and organizations from more than 13 countries are coming together to form the new International Anti-Piracy Organization, or IAPO, which is set to launch in April. The center of the organization is Japan's Content Overseas Distribution Association, which includes 32 major Japanese studios, publishers, and other companies. The Motion Picture Association of the U.S., made up of 6 members, including Sony and Netflix, will also join, as well as, this is interesting, from the Copyright Society of China, around 450 members from China about copyright, which I find fascinating. South Korean and Vietnamese companies are also expected to participate. IAPO is in particular concerned with the piracy of manga and anime, also says law enforcement with criminal investigations, especially those requiring cooperation from authorities in multiple countries, because of course this is indeed an international issue. According to Nikkei Asia, who originally reported the story, piracy cost the manga industry in Japan approximately 800 billion yen from January through October of 2021.
Jesus.
During that period, the entire market for authorized publications was around 600 billion yen. So piracy was bigger
than the
entire market. Now, granted, estimates are always complicated and difficult, and who knows? Big round numbers, but wow.
Let's make this really shocking. It would only cost like 80 billion yen, but make it look bigger. Give it another 0. That will make it fantastical. Okay.
Yep.
Still ridiculous. Like they overshot the industry.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of crazy. Wow.
So why don't they just buy the industry and become the industry? I mean, it can feed itself.
Well, that's the thing. And to be clear, and that's the weirdness about the number. This is what piracy technically cost the industry. So it's essentially the lost revenue.
Right.
So like they didn't actually make that money, but the market industry would have if all those had been sales, which is always a nebulous. Loose number.
Right.
Yeah, nebulous, exactly. But still. I think we've certainly seen the numbers before on these piracy sites having 80 trillion hits a day. Like it is absurd the amount of traffic these things get. So yeah, pretty interesting. It's kind of hard to get too excited about this because there have been these in the past. They formed together. There's there's enforcement, but this guy hasn't fallen yet. Like it's kind of hard to see this being a really major thing. I know. What do you guys think?
I think it's amazing China has thrown 4.
Yeah.
I was just having that discussion the other day about having like a Louis Vuitton coat and like a Rolex watch.
Yeah.
Those things are still rampantly produced in.
I think they're just
People's Republic.
Oh yeah, we're here to help stop it. Okay, here's what they're doing, guys. Okay, so
we're here to direct you away from stopping things.
I don't know. I mean, I get, part of me is encouraged by it, some of them, but yeah, I think that I'll be honest, once America gets into the fray, I think once once we get more and more solid numbers, as it seems to be the trend that more and more people are doing this, and thank you to COVID.
True.
Yeah. I don't know.
People at home.
Right. And and I think that once that Americans who might be invested in with these companies start losing money, that's usually the impetus for the big guns to go, okay, we're going to step in now.
Yeah.
And kind of, be the main backer of all this. But I think you're right. Until something like that happens, it's
well, Sony and Netflix, those are pretty big.
Yeah.
People,
well, I mean, they have a vested interest. I mean, if it's, look at We Can't Communicate.
Yeah.
And Sony's buying up properties left and right.
Yep. Absolutely.
But as we all know, piracy is like a whack-a-mole game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's you're gonna do this, you're gonna try and set some bright line rules, you're gonna try and get all this cooperation going, and then those forces of the darkness will then just skittle off into another shadow, and they'll do something else to do the same
sure.
thing.
It'll always exist, but
so we'll see how effective this is long term.
Yeah. Did you guys ever see that movie from the 80s, Amazon Women on the Moon?
Yes.
Can't say I had.
You haven't?
Nope.
I did, and I can't even begin to remember.
I don't remember.
So the very first sketch, it's a series of sketches in the movie. The very first sketch is like this pirate battle, and the pirates get on there, and they go, "Look at all this booty," and they bring up all these VHS tapes, and they put one in, and it shows the FBI warning, and they all just go. So, yeah, I think that's kind of where we're at right now.
Yeah.
We will see. Two classic manga have announced new anime projects this week. Rumiko Takahashi's supernatural rom-com Urusei Yatsura is inspiring a new television anime.
Yeah, I saw that. Wow.
The series will adapt selected stories from 1978 manga and will run for 4 cours, so basically 4 seasons a year, with the first season coming sometime in 2022. Hideya Takahashi and Yasuhiro Kimura of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Golden Wind will direct the anime at David Production, with Yuko Kakihara of Cells at Work and Heaven's Lost Property overseeing the series scripts. And I gotta say, Heaven's Lost Property is definitely the direction I can see going with Urusei Yatsura.
Oh, yeah.
The anime...
This is...
Okay.
I was just gonna say this is all I hear when I saw that. All what I heard was "darling, darling." I'm like, no.
The anime will air on Fuji TV and other channels to mark the 100th anniversary of the manga's publisher, Shogakukan. Shueisha's Jump Festa 22 event revealed that the beloved Rurouni Kenshin manga is also getting a new television anime project from Leiden Films. Besides a brief teaser video showing Kenshin himself, no further details have been announced about the project, whether this is just a remake of the original series or this adapting new storylines. We do not know, although I am betting that there is a certain tie-in to the popularity of the live-action films. That probably kickstarted some of the interest in this.
You don't think it's going to be like Yashahime, and it's going to be like Kenshin's little child that goes off and does things?
It might. I believe canonically, and I have not. It's been a while since I read it. I believe canonically, Kenshin does not have a child. But for those who have seen it, there is an after story involving Yahiko. So Yahiko is sort of the Kenshin's protege. But then Watsuki's been doing new Kenshin stuff, which I have not read yet. So I don't know. There may be stuff there with Kenshin's kid. Very possible.
I was gonna say that's one of those Brady Bunch. Bring on the little cousin Edward here at the end and keep the thing going. Send it in a new direction.
Yeah, it's possible. It's hard because Kenshin is very much about Kenshin. It's very much about a former assassin and the problems of being a former assassin. So I have no doubt Watsuki could do it, but it'd definitely be a challenge to figure out that new twist on the formula.
Well, I mean, Spy by Family, where you have two parents that are spies and how they, use the child as a part of their spy game. I honestly, that could be an interesting way to go. It's like, how do you have a child when you are a former assassin? How does that make for a family life? How does that affect the child? What choices did Kenshin make, and what regrets does Kenshin have? Yeah. That who knows? But it's just interesting.
I hear you. The only reason I'm hesitating is I feel like the manga over its 33 volumes or whatever it is has explored a lot of that ground. That's the thing, is you can totally tell interesting stories about, okay, now I'm talking to this kid. But there's so much emotional ground already covered around Kenshin. Right. I don't know how much you do with that unless it is focused on the kid. And like, what is it like being the son of a former assassin and all that kind of stuff? Yeah. So, yeah.
We'll see.
We will see.
We'll see.
And all we knew is new TV anime project. It could be a 13 episode, spin-off something where they're just doing a brief thing. Who knows? Could be
It's the
retelling
Beach
some
series.
Right, exactly. There's actually some fun stuff in the manga about that because Watsuki was not about the fan service. He just was not his skill. So whenever characters are like bathing and so forth, like they're still pretty much fully clothed. Like he just doesn't do a lot of that stuff.
A kimono's mighty heavy in that
Yeah.
bath. Yes, it is. All right, fair enough.
Also this week, The Hollywood Reporter revealed that Netflix and Universal are developing an anime of the Scott Pilgrim graphic novel series. O'Malley himself is running the project and will also serve as an executive producer, along with the writer of the live-action film adaptation and several others. Should the project in order for the series, it'll be animated by, I can think of no better studio than this, Science Saru. The studio behind Eizouken and lots of other cool stuff. Just perfect stylistic match. Absolutely perfect. It's been confirmed that an anime adaptation of key visual arts visual novel Summer Pockets is in the works. The game follows main character Hairi as he escapes to an isolated island after his grandmother's death and tells the story of one nostalgic summer. Though, judging by Key's previous work, nostalgic almost certainly means heartbreaking. Like we know where this is going. It's a Key story. It's going to stab you in the heart and then twist several times. But hey, I'm up for it. We're all up for it. I'm just double checking here real quick. Jun Maeda is credited as concept, original concept, and one of the composers. So yeah, and that was a 2018 visual novel from them. Let's see here. Yeah, I'm reading the Wikipedia entry. The game's concept is by Jun Maeda, who felt that the game needed to make readers cry. There we go. Okay, we know it's going to go in there. Gosh. Thanks, Jun Maeda. Jeez. If the day I became a god wasn't bad enough. Shuichi Shigeno's MF Ghost Street Racing manga, successor to Initial D, confirmed an upcoming TV anime adaptation this week. The series takes place in the 2020s, where self-driving cars are ubiquitous in Japan, and the protagonist returns to Japan after graduating at top of his class in a British racing school. So that'll be interesting, dealing with how self-driving cars involved in that. Yeah, there we go. Shingo. That was Killdozer, right? That was that movie. Shingo Adachi, character designer and chief animation director of Sword Art Online, which you may have heard of, will make his directorial debut next year with an original TV anime called Lycoris Recoil. The anime will depict the, quote, absurd daily life, end quote, of a pair of girls. So I'm guessing a Nichijou kind of a thing, maybe? I don't know. Yes, exactly. Moving on to one of my favorite anime concepts in a long time. An anime adaptation is coming for the light novel series Endo and Kobayashi Live, the latest on Tsundere villainess Liselot. Excuse me. Here's the plot. One day, Crown Prince Sieg suddenly hears the voice of the god telling his fiancée is a tsundere villainess, and he must save her from her fated bad end. What he doesn't know, of course, is that these heavenly beings are actually high schoolers doing a Let's Play commentary on his own life. So I can't wait to see where that one is going. A TV anime adaptation has also been greenlit of the Teppen or Summit manga to come out sometime this year. It's a coming of age story of about 3 high school girls who aim to become comedians. So that looks cool. A TV anime adaptation has been greenlit for The Angel Next Door Spoils Me Rotten light novel series. The protagonist lives alone in his apartment, and his next door neighbor is, of course, the most beautiful girl in school. One rainy day, he sees her in distress, offers his umbrella. She returns the favor by helping him around the house, and the relationship grows from there. So, yeah, I think we know where that one's going. Ah! I've seen that anime. It's definitely a train in a tunnel at one point. An original web anime began streaming on an original web anime began streaming on YouTube this week from Wit Studio and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure animator Naoki Yoshibe, based on music videos by Fuzi, titled The Missing Eight. They're set in the devastated world of androids and robots. That looks cool. 2 episodes already out. There we go. Sure, why not? Publisher Hakusensha has opened a new YouTube channel called Hakusen Anime Channel for streaming original anime. We started it off with a 2-part anime of The Demon's Bride Wants to Be Eaten. The Demon's Bride Wants to Be Eaten. What? What? What's no? Yeah. So the main character was saved by a demon when she was young and expected to be eaten by him in return when she grew up. When she turns 17, the time comes around. The demon has now become fond of her and doesn't plan to eat her after all. I'm avoiding that whole... No, not going to go down that... No. I'm sure it's very much... Mm-hmm. Yes, blossoming. Well, I told you guys about that manga. Like, I'm suddenly the Demon King's wife with like 8 children. Yeah, where it's very much that plot, but it's like really sweet and heartwarming. Like nothing creepy happens. It's like, okay, weird. Oh dear. 3 new anime films were also announced in the last few weeks. First up, Aniplex announced that Witch on the Holy Night is getting an anime adaptation done by Ufotable, probably because it's by Type Moon, who is the creator of Fate Stay Night and the others. Ufotable also adapted Garden of Sinners and Unlimited Blade Works and Heaven's Feel. The story is set in the 80s about a girl who's named heir to her long family line of mages, though she doesn't care about magic. The original novel draft was one of the first collaborations between Kinoko Nasu and Takashi Takeuchi before they went on to found Type Moon. So it's an early work by them. The Odd Taxi anime is getting a film project titled Film Odd Taxi in the Woods, which will premiere on April 1st. The film is a quote-unquote reconstruction of the TV anime, but will also depict what happens after the anime's finale. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, exactly. Director Tatsuki of Kimono Friends and Hentatsu released a teaser stating that his first original theatrical anime is coming, tentatively in 2023. It'll be animated by Studio Irodori with production by Aniplex. Aniplex. Hirohiko Araki's JoJo's Bizarre Adventure manga series. Oops, we're having audio issues on the other side. 1 second. That is true. One moment. What's going on there? Why are we not getting that? 1 moment. Thank you for letting me know. I know exactly what's happening. I just need to pull it in this way. Don't. There we go. Sorry about that, folks. Thank you for letting me know. Audio should be there. Can you guys say something real quick?
Real quick?
Cool.
Real quick.
Excellent. There we go.
Okay.
So JoJo will celebrate its 35th anniversary with the JoJo magazine on March 19th, featuring exclusive cover art drawn by Araki for the occasion. It'll feature a new 71-page manga one-shot of The Spoke Kishibe Rohan, a new text story, and features on the manga's anime and live-action offshoot. So if you're interested in JoJo, that will be out in both softcover print and digital versions. the 41st compiled volume of Berserk, which includes the final chapters that Miura himself created for the series before his passing, will launch in the United States and France next summer. The volume shipped in Japan 2 weeks ago. It is also the first volume released in the series in 3 years. The staff of the magazine included an afterword in the volume stating the future of the manga is still undecided and thanking its readers. Last up, another anime movie is taking the Japanese box office by storm this year. The Jujutsu Kaisen Zero film opened 2 weekends ago and sold 1.9 million tickets during its first 3 days, giving it the number one start for a film this fiscal year and the second highest 3D opening weekend box office ever, behind Mugen Train.
And Green Gables. No.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, we can't mention Mugen Train without having another accomplishment of its own to bring up. This time, The Unstoppable Train is topping the annual DVD chart, the first anime film to do so since Ponyo in 2009. Wow. It's also the number 2 ranked for the most Blu-ray disc sales in 1 year of an animated film, behind Frozen.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Competing with Disney. That's pretty darn good. Just gotta say. Both
meanwhile, Disney's planning to take them over.
We'll just buy you.
Yeah, it's easier to buy you than to compete with you.
And the original Demon Slayer manga is inspiring a traditional no Kyogen stage play. I want to see that. I want to see that.
Wow.
Oh. And both.
I wonder if they're going to do the limited video purchase tickets purchase, like you can do with the Miku one that they did.
Yeah.
Right.
And both Mugen Train and Jujutsu Kaisen are getting their own regular stage play adaptations as well, because why not?
Interesting.
Yeah. More of that.
I've never seen any part of Jujutsu Kaisen.
I've seen episode 1. That's it. Yeah.
Is shonen?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It is peak shonen. Yes.
Okay.
It is.
Gotcha.
Nothing against it. It is very much shonen. But yeah,
explain that.
It's doing its thing. Yeah. That's all the news for this week. Thanks for watching. We'll see you all next week. Let's see here. Let me switch back to here real quick. Let me take this off and see. Yeah, not too bad. The line's there. Line's there.
Missed the hat.
Yeah, exactly. I forgot to pull up anime history, so one moment while I look that up.
Ooh.
Because that would be important.
That would be a thing.
That would be a thing.
Start of the new year. Got to start it off.
Exactly.
On the right foot.
Well, yeah, there's one. There is one very important thing. We just missed January 1st, which is, of course, Astro Boy's birthday.
Ah.
But we can definitely do one about this guy, because a lot of people know him. And I think we can probably talk about him. Let me just find an image that's not absurdly massive and covering all of our faces. Much as some folks would like that, perhaps.
Some might call that an improvement.
Exactly,
Not me.
yes.
I wouldn't.
Oops, and then I need one other thing.
This is the face that launched 1,000 ships the other way. Hey, I know that guy.
Yeah, exactly. There we go.
My beard.
So welcome to This Week in Anime History, where we talk about things that happened this week in anime history. And January 5th, 1941, sure enough, was the birth of Hayao Miyazaki, the legendary anime creator. Where did you all...
I've heard of him.
I know. Somewhat familiar. What was your first Miyazaki movie? I know, right?
Oh, on like DVD or like in a theater?
At all. What was your first exposure?
Oh.
I had heard of Miyazaki. I think I saw Spirited Away in the theater, and then when I had Netflix, I went back and got My Neighbor Totoro, and then started getting other stuff, and then obviously through this watched like other
Spirited Away
stuff.
in theaters. Wow, that must have been an experience.
Yeah.
That was damn amazing, and enough that it was like, I have to find out more about what this Studio Ghibli is all about.
Studio Ghibli. Yeah.
Ghibli. How do you pronounce that?
I have no idea. I can't remember if it was Howl's. I can't remember if it was Spirited Away. I know I didn't see Kiki, but for some reason Kiki's kept coming into mind. I honestly don't know.
Yeah, my first was My Neighbor Totoro, because I remember buying the original Fox dub of My Neighbor Totoro. They licensed this before, or it may have been, I think it was before Warriors of the Wind came out. So before all the controversy around Miyazaki releases, they licensed this and brought it out. It was technically so the weirdest thing about this, so it was licensed by Fox, and they needed to find somebody to dub it, and so they found a studio to dub it, and so you get the Fox logo, and then you get the Troma Pictures logo.
Yeah.
So it was dubbed by Troma Productions, technically.
Awesome.
I was like, okay, that's kind of weird. And then you're like, but this actually works out well. And you go to the end credits, and dub direction was by Carl Machek. Yeah,
Okay.
he was the one overseeing all that. I love that dub. To the point where when they went to do the Disney dub, there was some talk about, somebody interviewed the folks producing the Disney dub, and they said, why don't you just use the Fox dub? And they said, we love that dub too, but we don't own it. We don't have the rights to that. That's another company's dub. We can't just reuse it, right? So, but like even they were like, yeah, that's a great dub. But yeah, my first was Totoro, and like I knew Miyazaki more as a respected like director who made like anime works. Not so much like connected to anime, I guess. I don't know. And I guess it's one of those things where, because so few of his things were available in America at the time, it was just, I had no idea what to expect. He didn't have a reputation for me much other than this guy's stuff is amazing.
Right.
And yeah, that was for me with Spirited Away, with Totoro. And after that, Kiki, and then I guess Nausicaa next, maybe? I don't know. But, yep. 81 years old now. Born in 1941. He's seen a lot. And he is, I believe, on his 7th retirement. So, yeah, absolutely.
14 will be a lucky number for him.
Exactly.
14th retirement, that'll probably be.
That'll stick.
Yeah, then it'll stick, exactly.
Because it will be death.
Yeah, yeah. Long may he continue making stuff. I
Absolutely.
Please hope.
Absolutely.
Well, I have a question.
What did we learn on the show tonight, Brent?
I just realized I pre-recorded us doing that and played that over the clip and did not include the live audio.
Oh.
So everyone just heard an old version of us doing that. So sorry, everyone. Apologies. But yeah, I learned today that everything old is new again. That even franchises from the 90s can see revivals. Franchises from the 70s can see revivals, which is a very good thing. I'm very glad to see that. And I have learned that it is possible to make a good golfing anime.
Yeah.
Which is very nice. Steve, how about you?
I just don't learn. I just like obsidian up here, just just nothing. Got nothing. No. I learned what did I learn today? I learned that I need an anime that is a relaxing and healing anime that involves Mecha from Macross Plus transporting the girls from Eurocamp to a golf course near the SFD one.
Okay.
And that's what I need.
All right.
And that'll never happen because it just won't. It's not going to happen. No, what I really need, what I really need though is not that kind of junk heroin for anime. But what I really need is the true stuff, the true China White stuff, and that's a Comey can't communicate. Really, that's what I've learned, and I need that. But I've also learned that Macross Plus was a delightful thing to come back to watch in a different light, understanding with like just how much a budget can impact how good an anime can be. It's just one of those things. And I've learned that Satoshi Kon will still, even though I have no real knowledge of his manga, now I'm getting into, and I've been mind warped by his movies now. And now the mind warp will be complete with the manga.
The journey to the dark side will be complete.
Yeah.
Oh, geez. I don't know.
John, how about you?
I've learned that I missed being on here with you guys.
Yeah.
It was nice to have a break. It was good to get the time to like decompress. But it's nice to be back again doing the thing. I continue to applaud efforts to cut back on piracy, and I will be curious to see how they're going to effectively do this anti-piracy thing that will be more effective than, as you know, Steven pointed out, the Amazon Women on the Moon, FBI anti-piracy on the videotape. I've learned that the efforts are ongoing and valiant and noble, and I applaud them, and I hope that they are more effective than prior iterations at the same time.
Yep.
Those are the things I've learned.
Okay, fair enough. Well, thank you all so much for watching. Next week is our seasonal anime watching party. It is time for the spring season, technically. Or is this the winter season? I guess it's the spring. I think it's spring. It's the spring season. Yeah. So we'll be watching a whole bunch of anime over the course of the Saturday and the Friday. And then we'll be talking about all the new episode 1s that we watched next week at 8 p.m. Eastern. So hope you can join us for all of that. We've also got OnCon coming March 5th. So in about 2 months, we've got a whole new OnCon. Bunch of panels coming up, including 2 by the guy there at the end, 1 by the guy here at this end, and some other fun folks coming in. Really looking forward to that. Talking about Evangelion and Japanese music and anime conspiracies and all sorts of cool topics for OnCon March 5th right here on YouTube all day. So that is coming up. And one other quick FYI, we are going to be moving on to doing reviews and catching up on some of the directors that we've been talking about in the past. So we want to finish out some of the Makoto Shinkai films that we wanted to see. We're going to watch Wolf Children, which we've been talking about watching. We'll be doing that soon. And then after that, I think we're going to be talking about some more obscure anime. I think it'd be nice to go to some of the weirder things on the fringe and lift up some anime that maybe folks have not seen and have not heard about.
Nice Naruto, Full Metal Alchemist, Attack on Titan, those really
absurd
titles. Dragon Ball Z.
There's this one called Fate. I don't think anyone's heard of.
No,
I know nothing of that.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Saber who?
What?
All I know about is lightsabers. That's all I know about.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Thank you all so much. Have a great one. We'll see you all next week. Take care. Bye all.
Johnny.